I see not stars, but their light reaching across the distance between us. By Paul Tran. I walked through the fog-covered field. I was told I could see the planet visible in the night sky. Jupiter, Saturn, something not usually visible, like my desire now for the life stars have, to be fixed, to be luminous. I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how I'd achieve it. The things I loved had lost their magnetism, their form and function, like the shadow's light, once made sharp, then sharper, then nothing. Reaching into my purse, I drew out a cigarette. I sensed across the field someone approaching. I couldn't tell who or if the field itself was approaching, closing that distance separating belief from doubt. It was at the edge between where I stood, waiting, anticipating, with the fog dividing us, the stranger and me, eliminating all that I didn't need to see. Us in the car, in the last hour of light, listening to melodrama as we waited to leave the city I escaped to after the incident. The rush hour of being seemed stranger and more familiar than I remembered when I first arrived from Providence and felt obliterated by the landscape towering over, around, and inside of me. It occurred to me that suddenly heading west, chasing the sunset, eliminating another day, my sister finding another way through the traffic, all thought was a kind of framing, and if I reframed my thinking, I'd find that I wasn't leaving a life, but driving, fast or slow, toward a new one. I hated that, not the thought, but how easy it was to believe. I hated that belief didn't erase or redeem the time I spent otherwise convinced. In the tunnel, need and what I confused for it grew smaller and smaller until too small even to view in the mirror, like the skyline vanishing into the sky. Once, history helped me see the future. That everything vanished, however, was the price of looking back. See me at the end of summer, the dean said, and handed me 2 pamphlets. The first, Psychological Services, the second, Time Management. Future and past could be managed by organizing the present into tasks that, when completed in time in a satisfactory manner, indicated progress. Everything was a thing to do well so that others felt comfortable. I was a cell vanished from the spreadsheet with each meeting. Pill, progress report filled. However, the present persisted. There, like a window, frozen, refusing to close, was another progress report. Pill, meeting, task to complete. At the clinic, the nurse took my urine sample, my blood sample, and I paid whatever price for results entered into a computer. My statement recorded on a pad of yellow legal paper that page after page went on forever. I calculated, looking at my bank account, the cost of progress. No going forward, no turning back. I stayed there, present, managing what I could, trapped in that summer. Back in the underworld, in bed with another nameless by now God, the shadows I named, what I got, what I asked for, and what I really wanted, stayed visible even in the dark, even after he turned off the light and lay there next to me with me, taking me into his arms. Often another shadow would present itself, what I accepted, not absorbing or displacing the others, but somehow managing to overshadow them. It said, "Call me master." It said, If you do what I say, you won't get hurt. That was the problem. Again and again I got hurt. I asked for hurt, must have wanted to be hurt. I accepted that hurt could be a way to heal. A problem was only a problem until I found a way to use it. Trapped in that logic, in that grip, that faceless by now face, in that timeless because all the time room looking at, into, and then through me, that was enough to show me turning on the light, hot as the air at the end of another summer. The sharp difference between healing and healing, parallel lines, a vanishing point. Summer the year after, scent of ginkgo, holly, us around the rotunda, the oculus, the endless champagne, brown graduation robes. You approached me sharp in your suit, a toast, a cheese platter. Have we met? You spoke as if we hadn't. Difference, the little time made. The distance between then and now, you next to me, your hand on mine. I told myself I was healing. I ran. The trees hailed their leaves. A car blared its horn. And wasn't that also forgiveness? Me sparing you. Me not healing you. Me permitting us our secrets, our separate memories, parallel suffering, stupidity, shame. The sun set. I filed behind lines of proud parents, babies with balloon animals, alumni. On stage, a band played a journey song. On the river, flames burst from floating braziers, vanishing, returning, fire on water, ships of light. To go on at that point, to understand what couldn't be understood, was to set us both free. Point A, me. Point B, me. To the zoo I schlepped through sleep in stilettos. I imagine the snow leopards understand theirs to be the only world. They get fed. They get root canals. What am I to them? To anyone? Couldn't sleep. Too hot to rest. The nightmare resumed. Be it known, I entered the economy of objection. I wanted my pain understood. I found an audience. The profit I made was all I had to pay the rent, utilities, food that passed through me unlike pain. To the penguins amused by my palm on the glass, I'm a blue-green spectrum, set on stage in my cage of the flesh, my cage of the mind. The performance rendered us captive, captivated. I wanted the audience to see me. I wanted to see myself both as I was and as I wasn't. Good survivor, bad survivor. Since I couldn't be free, I chose ambivalence. I renounced expectations, my investment in cause and effect. Free from freedom, I lived day to day until, just like that, I had a new history. I scrawled on a napkin a new to-do list. Noon in the garden, I harvested tomatoes, chose cilantro for the canchua my mother over the phone taught me to make. Ambivalence wasn't indifference. Ambivalence was irreverence. I watched the flames, the soup simmering, and skimmed the self that resisted being renounced. Scrim of decoration, scum of denial. To expect nothing was still to have expectations. A bowl I emptied and cleaned and refilled and emptied again. My life was this now. I had to get used to it, to use it. I got rid of my past investment in the categories of good and bad. Survival was survival in the end. In a drawer were various Tupperwares and various lids. Cause never matched consequence. This never belonged to that. And yet I found sustenance and forms to contain it. I found the word effect meant the verb cause and the noun consequence. Everything was and wasn't. Effect of running into someone with your musk of Old Spice and smoke meant I dissociated from myself. Memory was a matador, a bull charging through the bodega on fire. I made a list of action items. Inhale, exhale, verb followed by another verb. Someone triggering the automatic doors was enough cause for me to be in that room again, to feel your tongue turn in my mouth and hear the ice cream truck, the song. I made a list of red objects, the shelf of hot Cheetos, the tray of red lighters, the fridge of Red Bull, noun followed by another noun. Inhale, exhale. I repeated to myself that consequence was a sequence of contradictions, contrivances. Controlling everything injured me more than the injury of what memory won't let me forget. Wasn't the word for injury the same in Vietnamese as the word for love? And stepping forward for a pack of Newports and some Tylenol, I thought if love was this remembering, this membrane between reliving and relieving, then what? So what? Was I wrong to believe that I could be loved after all? This time convinced I was the twisted pine, convinced I had to keep on remembering the desert wind, the flames that broke into and broke open this body, that released from me, another membrane containing pleasure and death, planted beneath the ash between me and the human shore that one day will rescue me from this reliving, this pattern, season after season of death and pleasure, and suppose I lived to see myself alive, anew, finally relieving myself of my wish for the if in the middle of life. Was I wrong then to believe that I could love someone else? Tell me what love is to a survivor. Tell me love, like voice, can be wrung from violence so that this pine, wind, flame, seed, ash might mean something, though what that is, even if it's nothing in the end, I couldn't say. What I withhold from my mother when she asks me what happened that night before my 21st birthday, I withhold to protect her. Is that the is this the explanation I offer myself? As we continue along the Embarcadero, even as waves retreat from the seawall, as my mother takes my hand in hers, if not tenderly, then with her kind of tenderness, I assure myself it's easier with the truth, with those I love, to be spared than to be unsparing. Nothing hurts, not the waves racing in, not my mother releasing my hand in the last light of the year, recounting as though an apology to me the story of what happened to her, how she assumed it would never end, like asking forgiveness, not for what had been done, but for what hadn't. I guess this, too, is love. Indirection, suppression, silence, pressing on. Couldn't a mission be admission? Couldn't an embankment be an embrace? Say roughly now the truth. A man seeded me without consent. I bloomed. Say cheese, the camera commands the octopus receding into the reef. Roughly, then not so roughly, the octopus extends a tentacle. Now the camera advances. Ruthless is the mind determined to capture the truth about the mind, whatever that might be. Truth reveals more about the viewer than the subject being viewed. The man I loved said that my evolution was unbelievable. I kissed him and said that man and his failure to believe was exactly why I had to evolve. Seated, yes, like a plot. Seated, absolutely not. Like the octopus, me confronting what could kill me was me confronting my life without reservation. The octopus lunges forward. I did not consent to this. Beak, teeth, venom, grip. Reaching for the unknown, I unleashed my tentacle. I unleashed all my tentacles at once. Bloomed, blurred. Let this photograph show that human nature is nature's cruelest invention. Bloomed after decades dormant, after dryness and heat, after the rainfall blurred the atmosphere. The desert a sea of gold and pink and purple. Let sprout. Let butterflies and bees and hummingbirds. Let grow this desert gold, this gravel ghost, this golden evening primrose, this photograph of notch-leaf phacelia rising 3 feet high from a bed of stone. Show the way, show salt flats and sand dunes and rock. Show faith that a moment can be a monument, that the monumental can be this momentary. Human was I who came back and still took for granted the abundance nature made known to me. Prince's plume, magnificent lupine, my suffering is that I try to make my suffering beautiful, and I'm no beauty. I'm told that nature's an allegory in which the ego hides. Like the dark throat shooting star, cruelest was I who crossed Death Valley to the valley of life. By my own invention, I found a way. I'm no artifact. Between art and fact, I, invention slid into my mind tonight like a formal feeling, just as I slid my body into my bodysuit. It was August again. Bound in my purse was a boarding pass, and there I was looking through a telescope in the fog-covered field as someone drew closer. Way in the distance the stars appeared, still fixed, still luminous. I'm going to be far from my pain one day. I'm going to no longer feel that pain, but something new and just as merciless. Artifact of the past, artifice of the future. There I was in the tall grass between the choices I'd made and the choices I was given. The fog's ambivalent art made it so that I saw only what was in front of me. And no matter what drew closer, the stranger in the field or the field itself, fact or fiction, my need or my desire, I had to focus on what I could see. I see not stars, but their light reaching across the distance between us. This poem, this collection of poems, came to me by way of a bookstore. I was at with my mother.